If I haven't met you yet, I think I know most. Elizabeth and Mark, Nikki, welcome. Zach, welcome. Tess and Charlie, welcome. You're back here. What a great morning, right? To have practice. Jennifer and Marie, welcome, welcome. So get started on your back leg all the way down. Come to a place that feels restorative to you, a place that feels effortless, and really a place that feels like you can begin to rest. And as we come to practice today, I want you to just take a moment to really settle in. Maybe noticing the past few days, I think for all of us have been just sort of this test of willpower as Northern Virginia starts to, and I think everyone's in Northern Virginia. Leela, welcome. As Northern Virginia starts to open up, kind of the conversation that I've been hearing from everyone and kind of having with everyone is like, gosh, like, when will it end, right? And I have certainly been feeling like that too, especially as we've really gone in this transition from spring to summer. The news and the media and just the world feels heavy right now. So it's really kind of this test of willpower. And I want you to focus today on this idea in yoga practice of ahimsa. And when things get heavy, whether it's this testing of willpower or where we can't really kind of see the road ahead of us, or even just when we read something, we feel that heaviness. And something that I've really been playing with really just in life, and it's not really yoga practice, is for every one heavy thing I read, I do something that's almost like a transition. And so in yoga, we have this physical practice where we do something challenging and then we counter it, right? Or we do something challenging and then we vinyasa to let go of that energy. So today, working with this yoga tenet and principle of ahimsa, where we're really being kind to ourselves, but it's a kindness to ourselves that we can then share out into the world, right? So we're reading today from a book called Skill in Action. And so as we play with this idea of ahimsa in the practice, maybe it is just starting with this idea of nonviolence to the self, non-harming actions, thoughts, and words. And the translation of ahimsa that the book Skill in Action gives us, which if you don't have this book, it's on my recommended reading list for the summer. And it's ahimsa is the absence of injustice, violence, and cruelty. This includes actions, words, and ways of living. And ahimsa means always behaving in a way that takes into account if behavior is causing harm or injustice. And so even if you've just been feeling heaviness from maybe feeling like you're stuck, or feeling just this heaviness of the global community, or even the US is just really heavy right now, maybe just starting with your own practice of ahimsa. How are you practicing kindness so that you may share it out into the world? And really that is the true practice of yoga, kindness in the moment, and really this liberation for all. And so take a moment to really collect yourself. Notice where you've been feeling heaviness. Maybe it's a physical sensation, maybe it's a mental aspect of heaviness. Be aware of it. And then let's breathe through that. Take a deep breath in through the nose, open the mouth part, and then just let that heaviness out. And then hug your knees into your chest. Start with Apanasana. And then just depending on how you're feeling this morning, either hands to the shin bones or hands to the backs of the thighs. And then just see how you feel. Maybe you stay in stillness, just starting to notice this natural flexibility of the knees into the chest. Maybe rock a little bit side to side. Maybe take the knees out a little bit towards the sides of the rib cage. Or maybe rotate the ankles, just observing your place in your foundation. And so our foundation really starts from the ground. And when we feel that connection to the ground, we feel this sense of groundedness. So anytime something feels heavy, it's a good time to maybe just reconnect back to the ground so we can feel that lightness again. So we want both the opposition. Yoga is all about playing with opposition. And then take your knees to the left, arms out and wide into a T shape this morning, everybody. That's it. And then from here, take your arms out to a T. As your knees drop over to the left, turn your right palm up. So you're really rotating the upper arm bone out of the shoulders. So you're opening, creating space in the collarbone so you can actually physically breathe a little bit more. And then notice if the knees are in line with the hip bones. If you want to give yourself a self-adjustment, pick up your left hand and take it to the top of your right thigh. So opposite hand to opposite thigh. So you're really giving yourself a little bit more of a lever and leverage. And so as we work today with the practice, yoga is really kind of about, yoga literally translates to mean union. And union is taking two opposites, a light and a dark, a right and a left, an up and a down, and finding the center. And so really finding that union. And really this is that practice, that deep, deep practice of ahimsa. When we feel this heaviness, or we feel sort of these things going on that are really hard to cope with, or even kind of hard to deal with, it feels heavy because we don't see the light, and we have a hard way kind of making our way through. But really yoga is teaching us is how to navigate, and how to navigate well using our best tools, which is our brain, our capacity, our ability, our stability. And so start to notice maybe where maybe you can't quite see that tunnel, maybe you can't quite see the light out of the darkness, but we know it's there, right? We have to navigate, take a little adventure, and then come back to what we know truth. And then draw the knees back into the chest, switch to sides, take the knees over to the right, and then arms really wide and open to that T shape. So you can turn your left, rotate the upper arm bone out of the shoulder. So you're creating that space in the collarbone. So you can really breathe. And yoga reminds us of this breath, the breath practice, or the prana, the life, ayama, extension of our life. And when we put those two things together, we breathe well. And so start to add the breath, maybe noticing, observing where there's heaviness in the physical body. As you exhale, let out any physical heaviness. And as you breathe in, notice any mental heaviness. As you open and breathe out, maybe find a little bit of softening. Take one more breath in, open, exhale. And then hug your knees back into your chest. Apanasana, hands on the back to the thighs. And then start to rock forward and back 3 times. And then come to Sukhasana. Sitting up tall. Cross your right ankle just to start in front of your left ankle. And then just for today, take your ankles out a little bit more in front of you towards the top of the mat. You have the space to do so. And then take your hands, so in front of you, we're going to use this clock face, and some of you have been practicing with me for a while. So that in front of you, think about 12 o'clock. To your right is 3 o'clock. Behind you is 6 o'clock, and to your left is 9 o'clock. Put your about at 3 o'clock and your left hand about at 9 o'clock, and then root your sits bones down. Start to lengthen your pubic bone forward. As you lengthen your pubic bone forward, that's going to lift your sternum up to create more space. And then tense your fingertips so you're creating space across your collarbones, finding the right and finding the left. And then finding a visual X marks the spot in the center of your chest. Your tailbone drops back and down towards 6. So really using the pelvis today to find that imaginary lift up. So think it's a rooting down, but it's also a rising up. And then reach your right arm all the way up towards the ceiling. Take your right hand on top of your left knee. And then before we turn, take your left hand, imagine 6 o'clock in your brain, but don't turn yet. It's 6 o'clock right behind you, left hand is 6 o'clock. And then just for now, turn your right shoulder a little bit more to face towards 12 o'clock using your imagination. Before you turn your head, rotate your right shoulder a little bit more towards 12. Then so you can start to move around yourself. Maybe now you take the gaze to the side. But when we do it, it's like a tunnel vision. We can't quite see the light. So start to rotate all the way around. Look over your left shoulder, but use your right eye to look back. So really getting that full view all the way around yourself. So it's a little bit more like you're looking through something and then looking around it. And then start to turn, but keep your pelvis rooted down. Use your sits bones to root down, but also allow it to rise you up through the crown of the head. And then add the breath as you go around yourself and around yourself. Reach your left hand straight up. Turn to face the front. Take your left hand to your right knee. And then pick up your right hand, take it back towards 6 o'clock. So again, get the shoulders first before you start to turn. Start to rotate your left shoulder more towards 12. Rotate your right shoulder back towards 6. Then start to turn the pose. Keep your sits bones rooted down. So if you can find a slight tilt of the pubic bone forward to lift the sternum, and that's going to help you move and rotate a little bit further back and around. Keep gazing back over your right shoulder, but use your left eye to do so. That's it. And then start to lengthen as you breathe in. Breathe up through the front, down the back, to the left, to the right. Exhale, come back to yourself at the center. Inhale, reach your right arm all the way up. And then exhale, just take the right hand on top of the left knee from here. And then sit onto your sits bones. So kind of rock a little bit side to side. So you're really rooting onto the sits bones, everybody, from here. And then one more time, take your hands to 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. And then tense your fingertips. Think that your perineum roots you down, but it also rises you up. So you're keeping that balance point, everybody. If you're really finding the effort in your seat, but you're rising up to find grace. So notice what's behind you. Imagine there's fire behind you. And as fire comes up the back, imagine rain falling down in front of you so that you're finding steam. And then take your hands on top of your knees. Start to take your torso forward towards 12 and then take your back towards 6. As you come back, think a little bit of a cow pose, or a cat pose rather, and then come back and forth. Do that 5 times. Back and forth, you can go slow, you can move fast, but I want you to really start to find yourself at the center. Come back and forth, and then after that 5th round, come all the way back. Start to turn to the right, turn round to the right, come back through your shell, come all the way forward. And as you start to take this, it's like you're churning the water. So anytime we feel like we're stuck, and then add the breath as I talk and go around, add the breath. You can do slow movements, you can do fast movements. So anytime we feel like we're stuck, anytime like we feel like we're in that darkness and we can't quite see the light, it's like we're stuck in a muddy water, right? So when you come into this practice, sometimes it's hard to churn the water. Just start to get the water a little bit. Maybe you have to pick something out of the water, clean out the trash. Maybe you have to take some weeds out of your water. Whatever it is, start to turn it up. So you're churning the waters so you can find a little bit more space, a little bit more ease. You're not going to be stuck in that mud. And then come around through center. 5 times, go forward and back, forward and back. Find a little bit of that cow, a little bit of that cat. So you're really coming into yourself to see what there is, see where you need to go in, and then you're looking forward to see where you need to move out. And then after those 5 rounds, go counterclockwise. So you're moving against the grain. And so thinking about, at our house, we've been drinking lemonade. And when you make lemonade, it's a special treat for my kids. So it's like this delicious country time concentrate, right? That we only get like once a month in the summer. And if you don't stir it up, it's too sweet when you drink it at the bottom. Or if you add too much, it's too sour. So you want to make it just right. And so start to notice if you're moving to the left, if that's easier, or maybe it's harder. Notice where you go into the hips and where you don't go as you come around yourself and around yourself. So with all this, you're really kind of just seeing your perspective. You're seeing where you get stuck, seeing where you move. And then next time you come back through center 5 times, go forward and back. So you get the full perspective. You're really seeing your surroundings, everybody. But then you're coming back to meet yourself in the middle. So you can mediate well between both sides. You can start to find that focus and just observe without judgment. And then come back, find a seat, close your eyes. Imagine fires rising up your back. Feel the heat rise. And then exhale all the way through the front. Imagine rain coming down from the sky in front of you. And then again, behind you, imagine fire rising. So we use this visualization. The metaphor here is steam, and then rain coming in front of you. So we don't want to get too fiery where we burn up, where we burn things down, where we lose our perspective, we lose our sight. But we also don't want to get so wet that there's a flood in the basement. And so see if you can mediate between fire, between rain, so that you allow the breath to find steam. So keep going with that visual 2 more times. Inhale, fire rises behind you. Exhale, visualize water falling in front of you. So you can navigate that space well so that you don't burn out. Mediate well. Maybe use this word of ahimsa, practicing finding that balance, this yoga, this yoking between those 2 polarities. And then blink the eyes open. Come over to hands and knees. Find a table pose. Spread your hands evenly and well. And then stack your shoulders on top of your wrists. You're connecting the joints and the hips on top of the knees. Spread your toes and then start to tuck your toes. Lift your hips up and back for a short downward facing dog. And just from here, really pedal out through the knees. You can shake the head out, yes. You can shake the head out, no. Maybe if there is that heaviness in the body today, either mentally or physically, maybe just use this opportunity to kind of shake out the head. And then let's come into a plank pose. Measure your down dog. So it's a little bit more regulation down dog. Measurement of down dog is from a plank. Heels back, reach the crown of the head forward. And then slowly lower all the way down onto your belly, everybody. All the way down onto your belly. That's it. Walk your forearms out in front for a Sphinx pose. Spread your hands evenly and well to measure out your arms at your distance of your shoulders. Pick up your right hand, touch your right hand to the center of your left forearm, the center of your left forearm. And if your measurement, adjust now, and then pick up your right hand, turn it back. Push your forearms down. Think that your forearms push down to lift your shoulders away from the ground a little bit. And then push the tips of your shoulder blades into your chest so you begin widen the collarbones. And then really allow the pubis to come down, but allow the pubis to also find that lift and rising so the sternum lifts forward and up. And then turn your tops of your feet down, really straighten your legs and point your toes. Spread your toes and try to connect your big toe and then connect your pinky toe. So there's an action of really pushing your feet down. And then really feel the tops of your thighs. Push the tops of your thighs down, but internally rotate your tops of your inner thighs up a little bit towards the ceiling. Stay here or join me in a forearm plank. Tuck your toes, push your heels back, and come into a forearm plank. Heels back, head forward. Start to draw the front of the rib cage in and up. Stay for 3, for 2. Last one, come into a plank pose. Hands down, transition back, hips up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your right leg straight up to the sky. Exhale, draw your right knee into your navel. Set your right foot to your right thumb. Tense your fingertips wide. Right hand off the mat to 3. Left hand off the mat to 9. Then drop your back knee down, untuck your back toes. Low lunge, reach your arms forward and up. And then exhale, interlace your hands behind your back. Interlace your hands at the webbing, and I want you to take your hands a little bit higher up your low back and try to get your wrist creases together to touch so that your elbows split out towards the side. So the visualization here is a hanger. Your head is the top of the hanger, almost like a triangle shape. Your head is the apex, and your elbows on the right and the left are the bottoms of the hanger. So notice if your hanger is crooked, maybe you need to walk the wrist creases in a little bit more. So the wrist creases are how our relationship are to our collarbones. So if your wrist creases don't connect and touch, maybe start to walk the hands down the back a little bit from here. And then start to lengthen your forearms down, but try to keep the connection with the wrist creases. Try to keep the connection. That's it. Push down through your right big toe, and then start to rotate your inner right thigh in and down a little bit. And then start to notice where your left thigh is. Rotate your left thigh in and down. And then start to lift up. Draw your pubic bone forward, draw your tailbone back and down. Stay for one more breath, and then drop your hands down, frame your front foot. Start to tuck your back toes, lift your back knee up, step straight back to a plank pose, everybody. Lower all the way down onto your belly. Right away, come into Sphinx pose. Come onto your forearms. Spread your hands evenly and well. Straighten your legs and point your toes. Push down through the center of the forearms, and then maybe now the navel starts to lift forward and up away from the mat. So it's a back bend. And then start to rotate your thighs in and up a little bit towards the ceiling. Stay or join me in a forearm plank pose. Tuck your toes, press your heels back first, then start to lift up. Push down to the center of the forearms. Gaze is out, out, out towards 12, but also see 6 and 9, or see rather 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock in your peripheral vision. Come back to a plank pose. Hips up and back, down dog. Inhale, lift your left leg straight up and back. Exhale, hug your knee and set your foot forward. Right away, take your hands wide. Right hand to 3, left hand to 9. Drop your back knee down, untuck your toes. Inhale, low crescent lunge. Reach the arms forward and up. So good. Interlace your hands. Right away, notice the way that you naturally want to grab the hands, and then switch it. Go the opposite way. This side might be easier or harder. Just notice and be aware. Start with your wrist creases. Draw your wrist creases together, and then take your hands a little bit further up the back to allow the elbows to split out towards the side. And then really put your hands into the middle of your back. Really find yourself at your center, and then imagine a hanger. Imagine your head is the top of that hanger, your elbows are out towards the side. Notice if you're hanging well, or if you're maybe off to one side, can you use your imagination to really pull the elbows a little bit more out towards 3 and 9? And then if you can stay with the wrists together, start to draw the forearms down the back. And then start to back bend the pose from your pelvis. Push down into your left big toe. Think that the top of the left thigh rolls in, and then push into your back right foot. Spread the toes from the big toe to the pinky toe edge of the foot. Start to lift up through your pubic bone, but drop your tailbone back and down. So good. And then go to your edge. Release your hands. Tuck your back toes. Lift your back knee up. Straight back to plank pose. Heels back, head forward. One full movement, lower all the way down onto your belly. Right away, Sphinx pose. Come onto your forearms. Spread your hands. Push down through the center of the forearms. So when we back bend, it's not just lifting up, it's lifting forward and then up. So as we come in this pose, get the whole body involved. Use your pelvis to start the back bend. Lengthen your pubic bone forward towards 12, but draw your tailbone back towards 6. Think that your hips move out towards 3 and 9, but there's a slight internal rotation of the tops of the thighs up. So you're really engaging and finding the stability in your legs. Now tuck your back toes, press your heels back just to lift your knees up, then push up into your Sphinx pose. Keep the gaze out, 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 out. Come onto your hands for your plank, hips up and back, down dog. One breath in down dog. Push your hands on, straighten your arms and your elbows. Lift your heels, everybody, bend your knees. Look at your hands, step, hop, or jump to the top of the mat. Make 2 fists. Slide the fist to the inner arch of the feet to measure your hip distance. And then bend your knees. Reach your hands forward, rise up, Urdhva Hastasana. Good. Exhale, hands to the heart. Relax your hands next to your hips. We're going to move into Surya Namaskar, 8 from here. So option to stay, you can stay with step backs. I'll cue you through step backs for the first one. Or if you want a little bit more heat today, feel free to jump back. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up. Exhale, fold, Uttanasana. Hands to shins, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Look out, and then your choice, either step back with your right foot or jump back to Chaturanga. So if you're stepping back, it's plank. Then chaturanga, up dog or baby cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. 3 breaths when you arrive in your down dog. Push your hands down, lift your hips up, and then lengthen and press your heels back and down. Notice if your knees are tracking over the center of your feet. Can you start to spin your inner thighs in and up so that you're really tilting your tailbone up? Stay for one more breath. Deep breath in. Maybe you open the mouth this time and let it out. Lift your heels up as you breathe in. Look forward, jump, hop, or step to the top of the mat. Hands to shins, halfway lift. Exhale and fold. Inhale, rise to stand. Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, hands straight through the heart, fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, hands to shins, halfway lift. Exhale, step back with your left foot or jump back, Chaturanga Dandasana. So see where you are. Surya Namaskar is a great opportunity to begin to practice ahimsa. 3 breaths when you arrive in down dog. And ahimsa is literally translated as non-violence. So where in your own body today, maybe do you need to pull back? Maybe you need to move forward. Maybe just where the mind is going. And our actions really start with our thought patterns. Where can you find this practice of ahimsa? Maybe just an offering today. 1 breath together. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Inhale, lift your heels, bend your knees. Look forward, step, hop, or jump. Hands to shins, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, rise, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, straight through the heart, full Uttanasana. Last round, hands to shins, breathe in, look forward and out. Exhale, step, hop, or jump back, Chaturanga Dandasana. So if you're jumping back, elbows bent to 90 degrees, think about your back bend starting from your pubic bone. Your pubic bone comes forward, your tailbone comes back. Exhale, downward facing dog. That's it. 3 breaths here. So as you settle in and pause with an intention. Our mantra is a way of focusing the mind. And so maybe using a word like ahimsa to ground the thoughts. 1 more breath together, full breath in, open, exhale, let it out. Next, inhale, lift your heels, bend your knees, look where you're going, find your path, and then get there. Step, hop, or jump. Hands to shins, breathe in. Let it out with a big sigh. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise to stand. Reach your arms all the way up. Exhale, hands together at the heart. Relax your hands next to the hips. Turn to your left. Step your feet to the widest part of the mat. Take your hands on your hips and put your brain in your left foot. Turn your left big toe in a little bit, 45 degrees. And start to bend your right knee, lift your right heel. Turn your leg out of the hip to send your right toes forward for a warrior 2. We're going to play with our hands today. Take your right hand in front of your pelvis. Think that your right hand, you can either touch your navel or you can go a little bit more for your pubic bone, but try to get the center of your pelvis a little bit more. Your navel's a little bit up, but you kind of get the general idea. And then left hand to the low back at the tailbone. And then from here, turn the torso to the left, everybody. Turn the torso towards the left leg. And from here, I want you to really put your brain into your left leg. Think the top of the left thigh spins in and down. And as you do that, think about bringing the right hip a little bit more back into the hip socket and a little bit more into the right knee to take the right thigh parallel as far as you can go. And then turn a little bit more again to the left. Take your right hand, draw your pubic bone forward and up into your right hand. And as you do that, allow your left hand to come back and down. So you're really finding yourself in the middle. You're finding that stability in the legs, but you're working the ability in the chest. And then reach your arms out, turn your vision over your right middle finger for warrior 2. So pretty, good. Some of you can go a little bit more into that front thigh. Really challenge yourself, right? So these poses, when we hold these poses a little bit more, sometimes we flow them, sometimes we hold them. There's an intent, right? And so the intent for today is really to practice ahimsa. Where can you go, or maybe where do you go and where don't you go to pull back? Stay for one more full breath. Inhale. As you exhale, push down into your right big toe. Firm the outer right hip to begin to straighten and lengthen your right quadricep up to your right hip. Moving into triangle pose, take your hands to your hips, everybody, just to start. Step your left foot in about a foot. Left foot in about a foot to shorten your stance. Look at your feet. Is your right heel in line with your back heel? One long line, right heel to back heel. So it's a little bit wider stance today. And then take your right hand to the top of your right thigh. Imagine you're pulling your pant leg up, and imagine your quadricep pulls up into your hip socket, but it pulls away from the center of the knee. And then we're gonna start the movement from the pelvis. Start to move your right hip back into the socket, and then take your left hand on top of your left thigh. Think that your left thigh turns into your hand and down, but it keeps moving your right hip back. So there's a deep fold at the hip, and then start to hinge to your point of flexibility. You can grab a block, everybody, and place the block on its highest height or lowest height. Maybe you place the block underneath the hand, or you can touch the ground if you can keep the stability in the hips and the pelvis. So start to feel the hip hinge, and then start to turn the pose. Reach your left hand above your ear. Take your right shoulder to 12, your left shoulder back to 6. So you start to move around yourself. And when we move around yourself, we get out of our own way. Look up with your right eye to your left thumb, and then keep moving around yourself and around yourself. Stay for one more full breath in. Exhale, push down into your feet, lift all the way up. Take your hands to your hips, and then turn your right toes back to face forward. Good. Switch sides to your right toes. Point them towards the opposite side of the mat. Turn your right foot a little bit more 45 degrees. And then start to lift your left heel, bend your left knee, turn your leg out of the hip. And then again, walk your toes forward a little bit to find that warrior two foot pattern. So I'm going a little bit wider today just to give my hips a little bit more opening. Front heel aligns with the back heel for a little bit more space. But you can also take the front heel so it's in one line with the inner arch of your right foot. And then again, take your right hand to your navel or to your pubic bone. Take your left hand to your tailbone. And then start to put your brain in your right foot. Push your heel down, but allow the push of the heel down to turn your right thigh in a little bit more. So just like internal rotation of the back leg. And then bend your left knee to make a 90-degree angle, knee to ankle, and then push your left hip back into the hip socket. So you're really opening up through the hips. And then take your right hand, lift your pubic bone up, and then allow your left hand to draw your tailbone back and down. So you're really finding yourself at the center. And then maybe you turn a little bit more towards the right leg. Take your arms out wide into that T shape, gazes over the left middle finger for your warrior two pose. So see where you can go a little bit more to really challenge yourself, but challenge yourself to a point where you're not pushing or pulling. Mediate well between the effort and the ease. So you want work, but you don't want pain. You want ease, but you don't want to just be complacent. Take one more breath in, and then put your brain into your left foot. Push your left big toe down. Think that your left thigh moves up, almost like you're pulling your pant leg up. And then hands to the hips, shorten your stance, step your right foot in about a foot. And then start the move from the pelvis. Put your right hand on top of your right thigh. Put your left hand into your hip crease. And then start to turn the pose from the pelvis. Think that your right thigh moves into your hand, but it turns the top of the thigh in and down. As it turns the top of the thigh in and down, moving your left hip back a little bit more into the socket. And then that starts the pelvis movement back. So you begin to fold a little bit more into yourself. And then full triangle pose. Reach your hands away from one another. Find the tips of your shoulder blades. Push the tips of your shoulder blades into your chest to widen your collarbone so that your arms widen. And then start to turn the pose, move around yourself and around yourself so that you don't get stuck. Stay for one more breath. Push your feet down. Come all the way up, hands into hips. Turn your feet back forward. And then either step or hop your feet together. Step your feet back to face the front of the mat. If you use blocks, take your blocks just off into one side. Inhale to chair pose. Shift the weight into your heels, bend your knees, reach your arms forward. That's it. Exhale, fold. Uttanasana. Take your hands, your shins, lift up halfway. Your choice, hop, step, or jump back. Chaturanga Dandasana. Upward facing dog. Press your feet back. Back bend from your pelvis. Pelvic bone moves forward and up. Exhale, downward facing dog. Lift your right leg to the sky as you breathe in. Step your right foot forward as you breathe out. Take your hands wide and off the mat. Right hand to 3, left hand to 9. Push your right big toe down. Use your right heel so your heel connects to your buttock bone. Push your right heel down to lift your right buttock bone up a little bit more. Yes, so good, Maria. I saw that, so good. Then turn your left foot down 45 degrees. Inhale, rise up to warrior one pose. That's it. Put a bend into your front knee. Try to get your front knee a little bit more in 90 degrees. And then interlace your hands behind your back. Interlace your hands the way that feels natural. And then put your wrist creases together. Just like we did before, walk your hands up your middle of your back a little bit more. And then pull your elbows out to the side. When you pull your elbows out to the side, allow your collarbones to spread. If you lost the connection in the wrist, get your hands connected a little bit more. Good, and then keep bending into your front thighs so you can find the space. And then start to straighten your forearms down. Take your hands down, your left buttock bone. That's it. So, so, so strong. Good. Keep rotating your right hip back into the hip socket. And then turn your left leg in and down, but push your heel back. That's it. And then start to back bend the pose. Lift your chest forward enough. And then come into humble warrior. Come all the way down. You can take your chest either on top of the thigh, or you can take the right shoulder to the inside of the right thigh. Keep the gaze out, everybody. That's it. So we come into this, so pretty. Look towards 12, Zach, even more. Yes, so good. Everyone became Zach in that moment. Take one more full breath in. Release your hands down to the inside of your right foot, and then walk your hands around to the left. Come into Prasarita Pradhanasana. Parallel your feet. Take your hands out in front of you, and then take your heels directly behind the center of your foot. Big bend into your left knee, but keep the gaze out towards your hands. That's it. Stay for one more breath. And then shift the weight into your right foot. Walk your hands around your right foot. Good. And then pick up your left foot. Come into a lunge. I want you to pick up your right foot. You're going to wiggle it a little bit more forward. And then take your right foot, angle your heel out a little bit more and your toes out a little bit more. So you're facing towards 2 o'clock. That's it. Then drop your back knee down, untuck your back toes. Grab your 2 blocks if you have them, or your sturdy books. And for me, I like to come onto the medium side. So I like to take my blocks and flip them down one level. We're going to come into a variation of lizard pose from here. Come onto your forearms. So think Sphinx pose. Press your forearms down, and your hands can either be turned up or down, or they can just be relaxed. If you need more space in the front thigh, take your right heel a little bit wider, but keep it towards 2 o'clock. And then just for a moment, everybody, tuck your left toes in, that's your back leg. Lift your back leg up, and then put a micro bend into the left knee, but don't drop the knee. Turn the top of your left thigh in. So that's going to move, as you move the top of your left thigh in and down, it's going to rotate your pelvis so that you have more space in the cross of the sacrum. And it's going to rotate your right inner thigh in and out. So there's an external rotation of the right leg and internal rotation of the left leg. Then re-release your left knee, untuck your left toes. And then keep your gaze out a little bit more towards 12 o'clock, but keep that peripheral vision open. So when we feel stuck, we sometimes get into ourselves, we get into our inner shell. And to get out of that shell, we have to get our vision. We have to see what's in front of us. We have to see our circumstances. We have to see our surroundings. It's like a sailor who's looking at a compass. And if the compass is off, the needle's off by just a little bit, it might be a whole 60 degrees in the wrong direction, or 60 miles in the wrong direction. So that one turn of the compass really puts us all the way out. So notice where you are in space. Can you draw your pubic bone towards 12? Can you draw your tailbone back towards 6 yourself and then at the center? Take another breath in, and then slowly begin to take your hands on top of the blocks, everybody, if you use them. Start to put a bend into your left knee. That's it. Keep your left hand either on a block or the ground if you have the ability, and then reach your right hand around and back. Grab a hold of your ankle. Grab a hold of your ankle. Flex your left foot. That's it. And then keep spinning your left thigh in and down to find more space across the top of your right thigh so that your right thigh can move out again. Find the space across the low back of the sacrum. And then get your full perspective. Move your left shoulder towards 12 o'clock. Move your right shoulder back towards 6. Maybe you take the gaze back towards your foot, but use your left eye to get around yourself. So good, so hard, I know, so good. Stay one more breath, you got it. Release the back foot. Take your hands back down onto the block, tuck your back toes, lift your back knee up, and then wiggle your right foot to the middle of the mat. You can stay high on the blocks if you want, but just put your blocks off into the side. Plant your hands, step straight back to a plank pose, and then lower all the way onto your belly, all the way down. Stretch your arms back next to your sides, and you can rest your forehead down, straighten your legs, but point your toes back. Draw your legs together, knees together, feet come together to touch. That's it. Interlace your hands together at the webbing. Pull your wrists together. Walk your elbows up your middle of your back. So notice as we do this, repetition creates more insight. So maybe one side is harder, one side is easier. Start to push your pubis down into the mat. And then just from here, lift your sternum forward and up. And then maybe you start to float the feet. Straighten your legs, point your toes. Keep spinning your inner thighs in and up to lift your legs up. And then maybe now you start to straighten and lengthen the forearms down towards the heels. Lengthen your tailbone down, but lift your pubic bone forward and up. Get the vision out in front of you. Notice if you're holding your breath, take a deep breath in, and then release it all, exhale, let it out. Take your hands underneath your shoulders. Inhale, slowly tuck your toes, press straight back to a plank, hips up and back, down dog. Take a big breath in, open the mouth, exhale, let it out. Inhale, lift your left leg up and back. Exhale, step your left foot forward. Take your hands wide and off the mat again. Right hand to 3, left hand to 9. Push into your left heel to lift your left buttock bone up. It's like putting a little bit of air into your tire, and that air into the tire allows the top of your right thigh to spin in and down a little bit, so you can widen across the sacrum to get your collarbones forward. So you're literally like putting more air into your whole body. And then turn your right foot down 45 degrees. Rise up on your next inhale, warrior 1. So strong. Good. Get your arms in line with your ears. So good. Really straighten your arms. So maybe you need to straighten your arms a little bit more. So strong. Yes, that's it. Proud chest. Interlace your hands behind your back and switch the crossing of your pinky edge of your hand. So you're just taking the opposition. Walk your elbows up, walk your hands up, connect your wrist creases, then start to push into your heel to bring your left knee on top of your heel. Your right thigh in and down, but push your right heel back. Then start to back bend the pose. Take your forearms down the back, maybe start to straighten the arms. And as you do that, don't back bend from your collarbone and your shoulders, back bend from your pubic bone. Lift your pubic bone forward and up. Draw your tailbone back and down to back bend. So pretty. Humble warrior, fold the pose. So notice if one side is easier to drop in. Notice if it's harder on one side to maybe stay connected. But notice without judgment. Just notice where you go and where you don't go. Stay for one more breath. Release the hands to the inside of the foot, front foot. Walk your hands around, wide leg fold. Pigeon toe the feet. So take the heels out a little bit, the toes in, but you don't want to be so pigeon toes that the knees come a little bit more. Really look at your heels to make sure your heels are directly behind the second and third toe. And if that's new for you, it's the two toes next to the big toe, okay? The second and the big toe. Bend into your right knee, but keep your gaze out. That's it. Stay for one more breath. Walk your hands around to frame your left foot. Come back into a long lunge. Then drop your back knee down, untuck your back toes, grab your blocks. Set yourself up again for lizard, but this time take your left toes out towards a little bit more towards 10 o'clock, okay? And from here, heel in, toes out. So one side of the body, this is my side that's like, oh, I can't go as far, right? So you'll definitely have one side of the body where you can go a little bit more and where you don't go. Come down into forms. You can also do this without blocks. If you need to, level them up or level them down. And it also just might be circumstantial, right? What have you been doing? Have you been running? Have you been lifting? Have you been walking? Have you been painting or doing gardening, right? Whatever circumstance you're in is going to change your own personal circumstance. But make it personal. Look forward, look out, see where you are, get your vision in front of you, your vision to the right and to the left. And then just for a moment, put your brain in your right foot, tuck your back toes, lift your right knee up and off the mat. So just hover it, everybody, and then put a little bit more micro bend into the right knee. And then think about the top of the right thigh turning in and down. And as you do that, it's going to move your left hip rather out a little bit more towards the side. And you can do that again. Keep turning the right thigh in and down, but move your left hip out a little bit more. Then drop your back knee down, untuck your back toes. But keep moving your right hip to 3, your left hip to 9. Your pubis moves forward and up towards 12 o'clock, and your tailbone moves back and down towards 6. So you're back bending the pose. It's a Sphinx pose, but you're lifting your chest not only up, but you're lifting it forward and up to get your full vision. Stay for one more breath. Add the breath, breathe in, exhale out. Come back to straight arms. So you can do this again. Some of you have the flexibility. You can stay on that right forearm. I'm not going to get my body today. And then bend your back knee. Reach back with the left hand to the left ankle. I like to start to kick my heel in towards my buttock bone first, and then flex your foot. Go for a 90-degree angle from your right heel to your right knee, and then start to turn the pose if it's in your body. It may be, it may not be. Right shoulder to 12 o'clock, left shoulder back towards 6. Are you looking into that tunnel vision just to the side, or can you look back towards 6 o'clock to get around yourself? Use your right eye to look back at your right foot to really move the pose around yourself and around yourself. And then maybe put something personal that you need to get over. Maybe something that feels heavy. So you're coming into the practice with what you have, your circumstances, but you're using it to remove something out so you can find more space. And when we find more space, we find more lightness. We let go of that heaviness. So we learn to mediate well between opposites. Finding that union, that yoga. Release the back foot. Come back, everybody, onto your hands. And then just wiggle your foot, your left foot to the middle of the mat. Tuck your back toes, lift your back knee up. Blocks to the side. Step back to your plank pose. Hold your plank for a breath. Heels back, head forward. Find that heat. Lower to your belly. And then your choice from here, you can take one more locust pose, hands interlaced, or turn this into upward facing boat, Urdhva Dhanurasana. Bend your knees, kick your heels towards your glutes, and then grab a hold of the ankles. It's easier to start with your head down, then grab your ankles, than it is to keep the head up and then kind of wiggle your hands back. So if you're going into full Urdhva Dhanurasana, I'll walk you through that. Flex your feet. Start with your pubic bone. Don't just kick your heels back. Think your pubic bone moves forward and up. Your tailbone goes back and down. And then start to lift up. Lift your chest forward and up. I'm going to come peek and see how you're moving. So put yourself on a count. Commit yourself to 3 breaths. That's it. Use your imagination. Get your heels over your knees. So Zach and Nikki, use your imagination to kick your heels into a 90-degree angle. And maybe it's there, maybe it's just in the vision. So good. That's it. And then when you're done with your 3 rounds, try not to slingshot your bow. Come all the way back down. That's it. Release. Have a rest. Make a pillow with your hands on to your hands. And then you can bend the knees. Beautiful. Yep. Shake it out a little bit, side to side. That's it. And then take your hands underneath your shoulders. Press back to a downward facing dog. If you need to pass your child. You can sip of water anytime you need it. And then find a flow. If you'd like to take a final flow, find this opportunity to let go of something. When we flow, it's like our transition. Anytime I read something heavy, I like to do a little transition. And that transition might just be a little bit of breath work to notice if I'm holding my breath. Maybe it's walking around with my dog, or taking a moment to pause. And then pause, drop your knees down, hips to heels. Come to a child's pose, but we're not gonna hold, we're just gonna use it as a transition. So come over into a seat, grab your strap. If you have one, you can do this without a strap as well. And I know a lot of you have done this with me. So this might be new for some, but I know for a lot of you it's not. We're gonna come into bridge pose, so watch the demo for a moment. We're gonna come into bridge pose, we're gonna use our strap around the center of your shins. And what it's gonna do, it's really just gonna create a boundary so you can kind of wrap your upper arm bones in and down. And it's gonna give us the same rotation of the shoulder of the upper arm bone to work our hands a little bit closer together. So just play with this if this is new to you. We're gonna lay down, feel free to watch the demo. You're gonna take your strap around the center of your shins, and we're gonna work into bridge pose, Setu Bandhasana, Sarabandhasana. I'm gonna walk my feet in. I'm gonna find 90 degrees from my knee to my heel. And as I come up, I'm gonna push my hips up, and I'm gonna start to take the strap underneath my low back. So it's really just a boundary. I'm gonna push my shins forward into the strap to get my knees more at 90 degrees. So when we come into any back bend, we want to use that visualization of finding angles, but eventually the angles want to become round, so we become more like a sphere, a ball, so we can start to bounce. Then my arms are going to come around and underneath myself. I'm going to really turn my biceps up and my triceps back, and I'm going to use my shoulders, pushing my shoulders in together to lift my collarbones up a little bit more wider. So as you come into this, come all the way down and go for it for about 3 to 5 breaths. But commit yourself to a count. When we commit ourselves to a count, we find that place of commitment, that tapas in the body, that place of determination. That's it. Good. And then start to walk your hands in a little bit more. So good. That. Get a little more. Yes, so good. And down, yes. That's it. Lower all the way down. Whew. Keep this strap, but just take it into your right hand. We're gonna go for Supta Padangusthasana to get the spine back to straight. Lengthen and straighten your left leg. Take the strap around the sole of your right foot. And then you can have the strap either into the right hand, or you can take it into either hand, just depending on what feels more comfortable for you today. But try to find this angle of right heel on top of right buttock bone. That's it. And then straighten your left leg, flex your left toes, put a micro bend into your left knee. Think that your top of your left thigh spins in. And as you move the top of your left thigh in a little bit, see if that moves your right hip out a little bit more towards 9 o'clock. And then really straighten your left leg again. So you're creating that space again and again across the low back at the sacrum. So when we back bend, we're taking the body and we're learning how to break our habits. That's why back bending for most people, it's like, ugh. That's how I feel. When someone's like, we're gonna back bend today, I'm like, ugh, that's the worst. We're breaking our habits because we usually are forward bending society, we hunch forward over our desks, we hunch forward when we cook. So when we back bend, we're breaking all of those habits that have been ingrained into our body. Put a bend into your right knee, lift your left leg up, take the strap around the left sole of the foot, and then lengthen and straighten your right leg long. And then again, take a little bit of a bend into your right knee. Make sure the right toes are flexed for this. As you bend your right knee, think that your top of your right thigh turns in and down so that it moves your left hip out a little bit more towards the side, and it externally rotates your left leg just slightly. But there's also a slight internal rotation, so you can find that space across the front of the pelvis and across the back of the pelvis to open up through the sacrum. So this pose, Supta Pada Gustasana, even though it may not feel like it, is actually a forward bend because we have a hip crease, we're folding. So we work in opposition of the body. We find the back bend, we find the forward bend so that we can come back in our bodies to neutral. And then breathe in, up, down, left, right, front and back. Exhale, feel like you're coming back to yourself at the center. Bend your left knee in, everybody. Take your strap to the side, and then hug your knees into the chest. So we'll offer Viparita Karani, just a fancy way of saying legs up the wall to finish. Or you can just come to traditional Shavasana. But if you've been feeling that heaviness in the body and that fatigue, explore finding a space, even if it's just over. Some of you I see have like a bed. Even if you're just hanging the legs over the edge of something, it's going to really allow your low back to come to a little bit more of what we can get of a neutral spine. And it's going to really allow the legs to come open into external rotation when we've been working into a lot of internal rotation for back bend today. And then place the hands anywhere you'd like on the torso. Maybe you take the opposite hand, the opposite elbow to frame yourself up. And allow yourself to settle in and rest for Shavasana. Notice again where you're holding tension in the body. If it's the mouth or the jaw, relax through the tongue, through the face. I'm reading from Skill in Action, a new way of living. Yoga means to yoke. It means bringing together things that seem to be in opposition, like our mind and body, or our heart and spirit. Yoga gives us the opportunity to show up and practice again and again to start over. We are living in a time where we need to begin again. The practice of yoga teaches us to act skillfully and radically, moving us beyond the borders of our individual minds, hearts, bodies, and spirits. And the word Jivamukti in yoga means freedom. You'll be asking yourself, what does that freedom or liberation mean to you? What does it mean to our humanity? What does it mean to our own independence? Maybe at what cost? Maybe how can you use your yoga off the mat? On your next inhale, find movement, wiggle fingers, wiggle toes. You're welcome to stay and linger. You're at home, so maybe enjoy your Sunday if it's quiet. You're ready to come back to your Sunday morning, roll to one side, have a seat. And take your hands together over your heart. And the symbol of Anjali Mudra, prayer position of the heart, is really the symbol of coming to yoga. The right hand and the left hand coming together, the yin, the yang, the male, the female, to really find yourself so that you can articulate and mediate well to really come to your own center. And blink the eyes, close the eyes rather. Let's take one communal breath together. Take a deep breath in. Open, exhale, let it out. Now blink the eyes open. Namaste. I honor the light in each and every one of you. I'll say hi. You can turn yourself off if you want to say hi. It's so nice to practice together.